Anime versus manga, a dispute that has existed for practically as long as the entire community has. It's an argument so old, nobody even knows when it began. But here's the thing, looking past all the crap people will do to others who disagree with them, and I'll touch on that soon, don't worry. Is there even any validity to either side's arguments whatsoever, or is the entire deal just a huge garbage dump of stupid? Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger, and this is a video I've been wanting to make for a long time. Because while the dub versus sub argument is pretty vast on its own, this practically transcends the community itself. Though for those lucky few who haven't encountered this somehow yet, let me explain why this war exists. So here's the situation. For those who don't know, a good majority of anime, or at least the popular ones, are most likely animated adaptations of the manga. And in terms of those said manga, they're usually serialized in a multitude of magazines that exist. One extremely prolific one being Shonen Jump, as I'm sure you all know. So here's the thing, and this will become more pertinent very soon. With a great multitude of anime, when they adapt their said manga, it's still running and being serialized, thus creating some obstacles in the way of having a faithful adaptation. From creating massive filler arcs to making original endings, adapting ongoing manga can be a real hassle for all involved. And the list goes on for anime that butchered their source material like this, and to say it's left an impression on the community would be an understatement. These sentiments of disappointment and bewilderment left their mark on tons of people, creating one of the oldest kinds of elitists in the entire community. And don't misunderstand, there's nothing wrong with preferring manga over anime, whether it be the entire medium or just the explicit series. When all is said and done, your preference is yours and yours alone. Though as every other kind of elitist, manga elitists can really do some stupid crap for extremely dumb reasons, with some of the light offenses being the fact that a good bunch of them will go out of their way to spoil the anime for those who don't read the manga. Hell, I've seen people spam and harass others who prefer the anime over the manga. Though as an example, in all fairness, if someone is in a group made explicitly for a manga, and someone who doesn't want to read it joins and gets spoiled, the fault is more on the person who joined than anything. Just thought I should clarify that, since it seems to be more common of a problem than I thought. But you know, we've all experienced their elitism, and have tons of war stories because of it. And you know what? I'm sure there are already a wealth of videos out there talking about those. So instead, let's focus on the argument itself, and see if there is any validity to either side of it. So first off, let's address the main deal off the bat. If the anime does not follow the manga to a T, does that make it bad? Well, the obvious answer in my opinion is of course not. Like, I'll admit, it's always nice when an anime follows the source material to a T, and some of the best anime out there owe their very success to the fact that they adapted like that. Though while it's easy to be successful like that, when it comes to anime that deviate for whatever reason they have to, from an unfinished manga to putting space between the most recent chapter, the quality is in the execution. As an example, I want to talk about Trigun for a bit. Now, I don't think it's a doubt in anyone's mind that Trigun is an absolute classic. Hell, I still can't get the opening theme out of my head to this day. But here's a little tidbit not too many people really know, or at least I didn't for a while. The Trigun anime deviates heavily from the manga. Like, you know, the ending in the anime, that never even happened in the manga. However, does that immediately make the anime bad? Of course not. Both the anime and the manga are absolutely fantastic. Even if the anime didn't adapt the manga perfectly, it still managed to have lovable characters, great animation, and solid directing if you ask me. Hell, I'd play it in the background if it wouldn't copyright strike me, but take my word that the soundtrack is amazing as well. But here's the thing I just don't get why people can't realize. It doesn't have to be either the anime or the manga. Why not just enjoy both, right? Like, come on. With scenes like this, how could you hate on this anime?
I found him! Over there! Perfect shot!
In fact, speaking of Trigun, I just remembered another adaptation of a manga made by the same guy, which ironically didn't adapt the manga to a T either. Kekai Sensen. Now, you may be thinking, oh, you're just talking about this anime because you've recently been all over it. And you'd be right. But it actually serves as a really good example as well. So to give context, Kekai Sensen is a very fast-paced anime. Honestly, one of the fastest I've seen since the likes of Kill la Kill. Whether that works in its favor or not is a topic for another day. but like I said, the anime deviates from the manga quite a bit in various ways. Does that make it bad? No. Like Trigun, it too has fantastic directing along with very fluid animation and colorful characters, and in my opinion, you really can't get that fast-paced experience in the manga. At least I can't. But here's the thing that not too many people realize that can also happen, although not very often. For these two examples, the situation has been that of the anime being just as enjoyable as the manga, right? Well, what about when the manga is created after the anime is made? Now, this may be a bit confusing since usually it's the other way around, but yes. In terms of original anime, sometimes they'll even have manga made at a later date that adapt the anime. To throw some big names out there, both Gurren Lagann and Fooly Cooly got this treatment. So considering how a good majority of the elitists out there shun all anime because some of them don't adapt the manga faithfully, I'm sure it'd be quite the surprise for them if they discovered that these manga suffer from the same kinds of issues that you'll find in the lesser side of anime adaptations, funnily enough. Like, to be fair, these manga are honestly fine as well, but you must remember that when adapting anything, even if you do a near perfect job of replicating the source material, the experience you retain from one or the other will always be slightly different in one way or another. Though on the topic of experiences, that plays pretty well into what I want to talk about next, and honestly, the true root to this entire argument as a whole. Preferences. We all have one, and when it comes to anime and manga, well, some people can be quite vocal about theirs. In nearly all occasions with the exception of a choice few, in my opinion, I honestly prefer anime adaptations over their manga counterparts, though I wholeheartedly understand why people prefer the latter. Firstly, what is it that will make me and many others prefer the anime side of the spectrum? Movement. Probably one of the most basic reasons out there, but seeing your favorite characters in motion, especially in heated battles, has to be one of the most satisfying things out there, especially when the anime adapts the manga perfectly. Because I mean, while it will differ from person to person, I just find scenes like these much more satisfying animated. But on a more complex level, a lot of the time, anime can be easier to follow compared to some manga. Not all manga, mind you, but in general, I feel like I understand things animated way better. A recent example of this would have to be Attack on Titan. Like, while the anime comes out quite slowly, I honestly feel like I'm able to understand the story overall much better if I intake the series anime-wise rather than manga-wise. And of course, there's also voice actors, soundtracks, and other goodies that come in the package, but that's why I, and I'm sure many others, prefer anime. But what about those who prefer manga? Don't think that I'd leave that lovely bunch out. When it comes to manga, and I can sympathize with this quite a bit for certain series, one of the main reasons people prefer it is just because it's less time consuming. And you know what? They're right. Especially with those behemoth-sized series spanning hundreds and hundreds of episodes, whereas watching the anime can take you weeks or even months, depending on how much off time you have. You could probably knock out 20 episodes worth of content in a matter of hours. Like, I'm not even joking that if I had instead started One Piece today, rather than when I did years and years ago, I would have honestly just started with the manga, no doubt. Oh, and of course, there is always the adaptation situation I talked about, which is pretty understandable as well. Having things lost in the transition is never a fun thing. Overall, however, with it all said and done, this is what I want you all to take away from this video of mine. Everyone has their own preferences and opinions on everything really, and when someone's opinion is different from yours, instead of degrading them, try to find out just why their opinion is different. Who knows, maybe your views on things could even change somewhat. Though here's the thing with anime and manga. While both mediums are very similar and different at the same time, at the end of the day, I will never understand why some people seclude themselves to either one or the other. In the end, why not both? It's always good to have an open mind towards things, and whether you liked the experience you gained or not, saying that you tried is always 10 times better than not trying at all. Oh, and by the way, if you're still ostracizing people for preferring anime over manga in recent times, dude, you really need to find a better way to spend your time. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, do subscribe, and today's cool thing of the day is Inuyashiki. Now, I have mentioned it briefly in another cool thing of the day, but this is an anime I really do not want to go unnoticed this season, as not only does it already have one of the best openings of the year, but it's also made by the same guy behind Gantz. And believe me, this does not have the bad qualities that Gantz did. Overall, it's refreshing seeing another anime with this art style, and while there is a bit of CG spliced into the the anime, it looks like it's gonna turn out to be a really good show. So by all means, I urge you to check it out and spread its popularity while you're at it. So that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.